Welcome to today's webinar, Deep in Downtown, an update on Deep's municipal services and grant programs. My name is Savannah Blance Maria. I am the programs coordinator at Connecticut Main Street Center. In a moment, I will introduce today's guest speakers, but first, just a few words. Connecticut Main Street Center is the expert resource for developing and sustaining vibrant downtowns and main streets that fuel our state's prosperity. We all know a great downtown when we're in it. It's a feeling and energy that we can sense, see, and experience, but it can be hard to articulate what exactly makes a main street great. So we've broken it down into 6 qualities that make it easier to grasp. There is always dedicated Main Street management. The Main Street is connected by multiple modes of transportation for people to access. It's welcoming, friendly, and inclusive. Sustainable practices are in place that bring life and vibrancy for today and for the future. Small businesses are supported and encouraged, as well as residential and commercial development. And there is a unique sense of place. It is our mission to assess, educate, and convene around these topics, central to advancing communities across Connecticut to establish and maintain vibrant main streets. We are grateful to our sponsors and funding partners that make this work possible. Connecticut Main Street Center's founding sponsors are Eversource and the State of Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development. Additional funding comes from Webster Bank, Travelers, and Liberty Bank. With that, I am very excited to introduce our speakers from DEEP: Emily Tully, Client Concierge and Municipal Team Member; Niles Dukey, Federal Grants and Policy Advisor; Amanda Limisher, Brownfields Coordinator; and Kimberly Bradley, Connecticut Trails and Greenway Coordinator. And with that, I will pass it off to Emily.
Great, thank you. I could just do that. Okay. Great, thanks everybody for joining us today for a little window into DEEP's municipal team and our grant programs. Today we will be giving presentations about DEEP's municipal team and an overview of our concierge services. Niles will provide an overview of our state funding and grant opportunities. Kim will provide a summary of the Recreational Trails Program grants, and Amanda will talk about our Brownfield Municipal Grant Program, and then we'll have time for questions and answers at the end of our presentations. So I am Emily Tully. I am in the Office of Innovative Partnerships and Planning, which is within the Office of the Commissioner here at DEEP, and I'll be kicking things off by talking about my office and what we do and how that can help municipalities get those vibrant main streets that this is all about. So the Office of Innovative Partnerships and Planning is presently made up of 5 members: our Office Director, Camille Fontanella, as well as myself, Bea Milne, Jessica Billiard, Darren Wright. And you might know us, instead of that long name of the Office of Innovative Partnerships and Planning, you might know us as the Client Concierge Team or the Concierge Service. And what that means is that we provide a front door point of contact for any stakeholder looking to get information about DEEP and environmental permitting. We have a dedicated email address and a dedicated website that explains more about the services that we provide. It's really all centered around the Commissioner's initiative to improve communication, transparency, and predictability about DEEP's processes for our stakeholders. And we were established as part of the fulfillment of one of the 20 by 20 initiatives. So one of the main aspects of assistance that our office provides is permit assistance, pre-application assistance. This is available to any party upon request. It typically begins before an application is submitted for review. We have a questionnaire that anybody can fill out about any project that they're interested in getting an idea of what the permitting requirements might be. They submit it to our office, we review it, and based on the questionnaire, we figure out what DEEP staff to invite. And then we hold a virtual meeting to discuss the project and any relevant permitting requirements, timeframes, fees, design considerations that might be applicable. Normally, our involvement with a pre-application meeting ends after that meeting, but permittees are always welcome to reach out to us after the meeting for any follow-up questions or guidance or assistance. So under the umbrella of permit assistance, we have pre-application assistance, and then we also have our concierge services. Our concierge services focus on both permit assistance and outreach to external stakeholders. This is really kind of a next level permit assistance for complicated projects, projects that have a lot going on, a lot of stakeholders, a lot of permitting requirements, really complex uh, project requirements or tight timeframes. So in the concierge project, we provide assistance during the application process and after applications have been submitted to provide cross-agency coordination to help facilitate a smooth and predictable permitting process so that everybody understands what everybody else is working on and doing, and we can identify bottlenecks early in the permitting process. We also liaise with other state agencies and other federal agencies to help facilitate those projects. The types of projects that the concierge team focuses on are those that are particularly complex or involve economic recovery, shovel-ready projects, or projects that support economic development in an environmentally responsible way. They come to us through pre-application meetings, inquiries to our concierge email, referral from DEEP's permitting programs, or referral from other state agencies and local governments. Our results of our permit assistance program have been really good so far. We've found, based on post pre-application surveys, that over 95% of people who participated in them had a better understanding of the permits required. Over 85% discussed timelines for their permits, so they got an understanding of when and how the next steps would take place for their permits. And over 95% had a very positive experience and found their meeting beneficial to the permitting process. We track all of these metrics and information in all sorts of dashboards that you can take a look at. The slides will be provided as a PDF after today's presentation. But their information on our transparency and efficiency, our licensing timeframes, our legacy permits, all of that is tracked online to help improve that transparency and predictability of DEEP's permitting processes. We also do stakeholder outreach and coordination. We work with other DEEP staff to get ready for events and provide information on our different programs. We also work closely with DECD. We additionally produce permitting fact sheets to help stakeholders understand what might be involved before they really go too far in planning a particular project process. And we have a regular newsletter that we send out that I'll get into in a little bit more detail. As I mentioned 20 by 20, we are currently working on 20 by 26. DEEP, hopefully you've heard of this by now. It's our new initiative of 20 new measures to take place by 2026 to further improve our predictability, efficiency, and transparency in DEEP's processes. There are two goals that are directly relevant to the work that my office does. Goal 12 is expanding those concierge services that I described to be specific to the needs of our municipal partners and also to small businesses. And then there is a goal 13, that involves strengthening that communication and collaboration between DEEP and its different partners. So in goal 12, where we're expanding those concierge services to municipalities and small businesses, we're launching a new strategic initiative to serve as that front door to those municipalities that are looking for guidance on permitting, grants, or other DEEP services, and then also expanding our assistance in a similar way to small businesses. As part of expanding those services to municipalities, we've established a municipal team, which you can take a look at through our new Municipal Hub website. We know that our DEEP website can be a little bit confusing to navigate, and so we have created a new page called the Municipal Hub, where we've gathered all of the resources that are relevant to municipalities on permitting information, the municipal team contacts, grant information, all in one place. We also have created a new process called early municipal assistance meetings. These are a way for municipalities to meet with deep permitting and funding programs early in their planning process for projects so that they can better understand those potential regulatory requirements and then also grant opportunities. These are a little bit different from our pre-application meetings because they can be held earlier in the planning process for projects, and they are specific to the considerations of our municipal partners. We also have developed a new newsletter called Municipal Connections. We send out approximately monthly themed newsletters that have a message from the commissioner. Recent issues have talked about dam safety or the fires that occurred recently, and an upcoming newsletter we hope to have will focus on our new SALT webpage. And then we also send out more frequent and less formal emails through Municipal Connections that identify different funding opportunities, ongoing meetings, or comment opportunities that are relevant to municipalities. So for example, in our recent December email, we highlighted the upcoming or ongoing, forestry planning grant program. So these are grants that allow us to provide assistance to local governments in collecting baseline data that can help inform future forest management decisions. These are due at the end of January. So if you would like to do that, there are links on this page, and you can also email our program at the email address there with any questions. We also highlighted the new SALT webpage, which is a multi-deep program webpage that provides information on salt impacts on water, soil, plants, and wildlife, frequently asked questions, and provides tips and tricks on how to use less salt this winter. Finally, we have identified the need for planning, design, or construction project information to be passed along to DEEP, as we are currently creating our Clean Water Fund priority list for FY 2026 and FY 2027. So those project request forms for new and existing projects that will be requesting funding should be sent in to DEEP in the immediate future. So please keep an eye out for these types of emails. If you are not on our email list, you can send us an email at deep.concierge@ct.gov, and we can get you on there so that you can get access to these emails with the information or request our assistance with anything that you might need from DEEP. And that is all from me. So now I will turn it over to Niles.
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Niles Dookie. I am the Federal Grants Policy Advisor with the Office of Environmental Review and Strategic Initiatives. And kind of like how Emily mentioned, how IPP is sort of part of that 20 by 26 initiative, in a lot of ways, my position is sort of an extension of that as well. And today I'm going to be going over some of our available grant opportunities targeted towards municipalities, as well as a few other little side initiatives and projects that municipalities might be interested in learning about. So we can go to the next slide. So it looks like the slide got a little bit messed up there, but basically, DEEP has a grants and financial assistance webpage where it's kind of the main hub where you would go for all of our available grant opportunities. And in fact, that list there that you see, energy, forestry, open space, all that, that's not a comprehensive list. So we also provide grants for broadband and a few other areas too. So this is a pretty important webpage that you want to make sure that you bookmark if you haven't already, because that's where we pretty much list all the summaries for our available grant opportunities. And in fact, in this coming year, we are also going to be adding a few other features and enhancements to it that are actually in line with our 20 by 26 initiative. We can go to the next slide. So one of the things I really wanted to focus on today are these available grant opportunities for municipalities. We have a few that are currently open, and then there's others that are expected to be open shortly. This is by no means a comprehensive list. So again, you'll want to make sure you go to that grants and financial assistance page. But I did want to take a bit of time to just kind of give you an overview of some of these opportunities. So I know Emily already mentioned the urban and community forestry planning grants. One of the things I did want to point out there, in terms of that 50% match requirement, it's actually a bit flexible. So you can also use in-kind contributions of goods or services along with that funding in order to meet that match requirement. So that's something to keep in mind too. We have another grant that's due on January 31st as well. It's the Urban Forested Natural Area and Riparian Corridor Restoration Grant. That program is focused on addressing forest health issues. So, say you're dealing with invasive plant species, or you're trying to restore native plant species to a specific area. The max amount that you can be awarded for that one is about 20,000. So that's open towards municipalities as well as nonprofits. But one of the things that I wanted to highlight in regards to that is, if you're interested in if you have a nonprofit in your area that's interested in participating in this specific grant program, they are going to need your support in order to do so. That's a specific requirement for nonprofits for that program. The last one I really wanted to focus on is the Federal Clean Water Acts grant. You have a little bit more time to work on that if you're interested in going for it. That one's due February 13th. And that's one of the larger grants I'm highlighting. Well, that is the largest grant I'm highlighting today, because awards tend to range between 150 to 350,000. However, it can cover smaller or larger grant projects as well. So the emphasis on that is pretty much clear cut. It's all about, getting clean water. So it's about addressing sediment, bacteria, nutrients, that sort of project. As far as deep goes, we like to focus more on those larger contiguous projects as opposed to like the smaller ones. So that's something to keep in mind too. And yeah, again, that one actually does have a 40% non-federal match, so that's something you'll want to keep in mind during your planning stage. If you want to go for something like that, you want to make sure you know how you're going to address that early on. Now, as far as the other grant programs are concerned, again, this is not a comprehensive list, but these are the kind of grant programs you'll find on our grants and financial assistance page that municipalities can qualify for. We have several that are going to be opening up in the coming year. So open space and watershed and urban green and community gardens, those are going to be opening up next summer. So you want to make sure you kind of mark your calendars to check for that. And then our Land Water Conservation Fund Outdoor Legacy Conservation Program, we're expecting that to open in the coming months, early in 2025. Last but not least, by any means, is our Connected Communities program. That actually has a rolling deadline. However, all projects that apply for it has to be completed by that December 31st, 2026 deadline. We can go to the next slide, please. So this is not grant related, but this is something that I'm also involved with as part of our 20 by 26 initiative. This has to do with our community resource hubs. So community resource hubs is a special initiative here at DEEP where we're trying to sort of bridge that gap that a lot of marginalized communities and a lot of distressed municipalities have in terms of getting access to funding, support, and any sort of other resources here at DEEP. Again, this is not municipalities are not eligible for this program, but if you are a distressed municipality, you'll want to pass this on to some of your local nonprofits, CVOs, give them that information to see if they would like to apply for it. Because by acting as a resource hub, they're sort of acting as a kind of community liaison between DEEP and your local municipality, and that can give you a little bit more access to resources that you might not otherwise be able to get a hold of. So this includes holding special community meetings, events, workshops, that sort of thing. And it's all with the intention of bridging that gap that a lot of distressed municipalities have when it comes to taking advantage of available state and federal funding. That's yeah. If you want the next one, I think I covered that pretty well. So this is a little fun. I don't want to call it a side project because it's technically part of our pollution prevention program. But this is a fun project. If you're a municipality and you have a distillery or a brewery, winery, whatever the case might be, in your local area, you'll want to make sure you pass this information on to them because all of those breweries and wineries and the like are eligible throughout the state. And Better Bev is basically all about creating more incorporating more sustainable practices in the brewing process. So that Deep provides technical assistance, but we also have micro grants that are currently going on right now. You just have to make sure that your projects, if you pass this on to any breweries in your area, they'll need to be able to complete their sort of incorporation of all these practices by June 1st, 2025. I've made sure to include my colleague Connie Mendolia's contact information there below, so make sure you take note of that because she is in charge of running this whole program. That being said, I will also make sure to include some of the other references to some of the other links in the chat too, so you can use it. But if you have any questions when it comes to grants in general, when it comes to DEEP, please feel free to reach out to me. If I don't know the answer for it, I will make sure to get you in touch with the person who does. So that's it for me, and I will pass it on to Kim.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. My name is Kimberly Bradley. I'm the Connecticut Trails and Greenways Program Coordinator. So I work within the Bureau of Outdoor Recreation, the Division of State Parks and Public Outreach. So you can go to the next slide, Emily. So our program overall, I wanted to give you a little bit of insight. We do serve as a liaison to several legislatively appointed councils. So, of the highest connection is our Connecticut Greenways Council. We also serve as liaison to the Equine Advisory Council. But we do a lot of coordination between our agency and groups like the Connecticut Department of Transportation. I actually sit on the advisory committee for their update to their active transportation plan. And we do a lot to try to ensure that we are connecting our communities both to active transportation opportunities as well as recreational trails. I serve as a technical support to our internal state park supervisors and help with the review of trail interests on state lands, as well as support the agency when we're looking at any sort of legislative adjustments or changes related to trails and greenways. And most importantly today, I'll discuss the fact that our program administers state and federal grants associated with trails and greenways. Go ahead, Emily. All right, so in 2015, Connecticut established the Connecticut Recreational Trail Grant Program. Across the US, there is a recreational trail grant program that's funded through the Federal Highway Administration. In Connecticut, those funds actually are maintained by DOT, go back into our Transportation Alternatives Program, so are often supporting multi-use trails and active transportation efforts because Connecticut has designated bond funds to support Connecticut recreational trails and support our trails program. So our program is currently bond funded. It supports planning, design, and construction of new trails, maintenance and restoration of existing resources, and everything from design and planning efforts through construction, maintenance, even equipment and amenities. Go ahead, Emily. So right now we are anticipating a 2025 round. We do rely on the State Bond Commission to release our funds. So at this time, there's $10 million allocated, but that's going to require the bond committee to put these funds on their agenda and release those. So we're a little more reliant on that process as the consistent programs that Niles had overviewed that may be coming from federal programs and other sources. I did want to point everyone, even prior to the release of our new round in our application, we did develop a application story map tool. So I've heard from many groups that this resource provides direct links to the information and content that you need to complete our application. And I've heard from others that this resource has actually been beneficial for other recreation or other types of grant applications for the agency. So I did want to provide that oversight is available. And when we do open our grant round, we'll provide a webinar to go over this tool, go over the grant application resources, as well as the application itself. Our program also offers office hours and direct outreach. I do recommend that if you have a concept that might be of interest, we work very closely with Emily's program, as she discussed previously, in our early municipal engagement. So we do encourage that, because then you can get an understanding of the feasibility and potential of your project that may be applicable to planning funding through our recreational trail grant program. Go ahead. And I did want to note that our recreational trail grant funds, because they are bond funded, we are able to do quite a bit with planning and design funding. That planning and design is often a challenge for many municipalities and organizations to have in place in order to unlock some federal funds through, for example, Connecticut Department of Transportation. So we do want you to know that this is a resource and availability, particularly for your downtowns, when you're thinking about those connections that we saw at the very beginning of this presentation to our downtown areas for bike and pedestrian access. Consider this opportunity for those steps that you may take to enhancing your downtowns. We also wanted to note that the recreational trail, as it is state bond funding, can be used as a match for federal sources. So most recently, we've seen groups like our councils of government use our bond funded recreational trail grants as match to large raised grants, for example. And there has consistently been identification of a high need for the upkeep of our existing trail and multi-use path infrastructure. So as we're considering those needs, this program can serve those efforts as well. And overall, what I did want to note is our Connecticut Greenways Council does meet monthly. We are every second Tuesday at 9 a.m. and we always have a hybrid option for attendance. This will give you the most up-to-date information on what's happening within the trails, greenways, and active transportation realm. I do encourage, when we're thinking about connection of open space and planning efforts within municipalities, consider, and please let me know if you want more information on establishing a formalized greenway within your community. I think it's an important step in the planning process to really enhancing our connectivity, whether it be open space connectivity or actual trail-based and transportation connections. So please feel free to reach out anytime, and I'm more than happy to add you to our announcements for our Greenways Council coordination. Thank you. I'll pass it on to Amanda.
Right. Hi. Good morning. I'm Amanda Limisher. I'm the Brownfields coordinator for DEEP. I work out of the remediation division, and I'm going to chat about our Brownfield open space grant. I'm going to make this short and sweet because these funds are available for a limited time only. We are currently in round 2 of 4 anticipated rounds. This funding is available through President Biden's bipartisan infrastructure law, and it supports projects that promote the site reuse as open space, parks, greenways, trails, or any other kind of recreational spaces. It's specifically for the assessment or cleanup of contaminated properties, open to nonprofits and municipalities, COGS, And this round, the total available funding is $750,000. It's a little bit more than last round. So we anticipate the next two rounds to be about the same. And the maximum request for application is $250,000 for assessment or for remediation. And we have committed to awarding 60% of these funds to projects in EJ communities. And our round two just closed in November. And so we are currently in the review process. And we received double the amount of applications as we did in round one. So it is becoming rather competitive. So we anticipate the announcements by the end of January and hopefully around 3 by the end of spring, early summer. And there's my contact information if you want more information. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. So I think now we have time for questions and answers.
Yes, thank you so much to our presenters. I invite everyone now to drop their questions into the Q&A, but I do have a couple to start us off with. One question that we received from our registration page was, does DEEP offer any programs for art projects or projects that somehow incorporate the arts?
So I can speak to that from the recreational trail grant program. We do support amenities associated with our trail locations. So we can fund signage. I know that there's been efforts that have been kind of community connection to our trails. So I can't quote, that there's been a direct like mural funding, but I know that those can be associated with some of the overarching projects in the work that we do. So not only the infrastructure itself, but the kind of community tie-in to that is definitely key.
Thank you. One other question that we had was, this is coming from our chat. Do you expect the grants to continue to be available after the change in federal administration in January?
So I think I can kind of answer that one. I want to say for the most part, yes. As far as especially what we covered today, most of that funding has already been sort of, I guess, assured for these programs. We're not expecting a lot of rapid changes right away in terms of what funding we have available for these programs, especially the ones that we mentioned today. I don't know if anybody else might have some notes on that too, but from what I've seen, for the most part, this funding should still be available come next year.
Thank you, Niles. Yeah, please in the Q&A, don't be shy, drop your questions. There is another, it was more of a comment that came through from our pre-registration, and Kim, I believe you did touch on this a little bit, but do you have any more commentary on the connection of rivers and trails to Main Street?
Yeah, I will say we have had a huge focus on community connectivity. So I know CTDOT has the same approach of the need for both establishment of corridors for connecting those within our towns to everyday locations is kind of common terminology for that. What I do encourage, again, like I said, within our program, we can provide planning funds. So routing studies, looking at even kind of design and components of it. We work on large regional projects. So our program actually sits in with the Naugatuck River Valley Trail and, Norwalk Valley Trail as well. We are working on and with our committees on the Arrowland State Park Trail for looking that completely across. So connectivity is key, and the economic benefit that we see from connecting our communities by trail, by some of these corridors really enhances the quality of life within Connecticut. So we find that, you know, people are moving to Connecticut, people are visiting Connecticut because of this connections, and we want to continue to enhance that. I'm not sure. Hopefully that answers the question. I do highly encourage, as we said, the Department of Transportation is now initiating the update to their active transport plan, and there'll be much more to come. There are some community outreach events that will be coming up, and I do encourage those on this call to get actively involved in that and learn more. I know between our agencies, we're trying to coordinate closely on that, but it is key in terms of enhancing some of these approaches across the state.
Great, thank you. And I think that definitely touched on the question, so definitely gave an answer. Another question from our chat is, as the Brownfields program is getting more competitive, what projects or applications are more competitive?
Well, as I said, will be projects that are in EJ communities are definitely scoring higher. And those that are shovel ready, they know what they're going to redevelop the property as, and they can, you know, present some plans. And I'm just going to touch on what Kim was just saying. An ideal situation is to, you know, grab one of these old brownfields and clean it up as a park, and then also utilize the open space grant or the trails grant. That we've actually seen a few projects come through that are using both for the connectivity. So hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you. I'm checking our chat. I don't see another question coming through our chat at this time. One more regarding the brownfields. To verify eligibility of a contaminated property starts with the property being listed on the Connecticut brownfield list.
Nope, because the Connecticut brownfield list is not a comprehensive list. Our inventory includes properties that either have already received funding, state or federal funding, those that or targeted brownfield assessment, or those that are already in the liability relief program. So there's a whole slew of other properties that have not found it to the inventory yet. So I would not base it on that.
Thank you. Well, while we wait for any other questions to roll in, to our presenters, do you have any closing remarks or thoughts for our audience today?
Just from my perspective, I'm going to put the email in the chat that I mentioned, and you know, that anybody should feel free to reach out to that email with any questions about DEEP. If my office doesn't handle it, then we can direct you to the office that does and find the right person for you. We really enjoy serving as that front door function, so happy to receive any of those inquiries about funding or permitting requirements or the early municipal assistance meetings that folks might have. And we thank you for the time. It was great to talk to everybody today.
Great. Thank you, Emily. I'm going to share in the chat the link to today's evaluation. Please fill it out. I do have a few more closing remarks. And yes, our presentation will be shared with you all today. With that, I just want to thank our speakers once again. Emily, thank you for dropping your contact information in the chat. There's some links coming through now. So I will close us out, and I just want to say thank you to you all for attending today.
Thank you for having us. And yes, the presentation will be shared. I think there was a question about that. Yep.
Thank you. We invite you to join the more than 80 communities around the state committed to improving their Main Street by becoming a member of Connecticut Main Street Center. As a member, you receive exclusive help and resources to support your downtown work. Please visit ctmainstreet.org to learn more. Registration is now open for our January webinar, Exploring Office to Residential Conversions. Join us from 11 a.m. to 12 noon on January 16th, 2025. Please register at connecticutmainstreet.org/events. Save the date for our March 2025 summit in collaboration with the Capital Region Council of Governments. The title this year is 10 Years of TOD and the Road Ahead. The summit will be held at Parkville Market in Hartford, Connecticut. Stay tuned for more information. Once again, we thank our sponsors and program partners. When you exit this webinar, you should be prompted to complete an evaluation for this presentation. Please take a moment to share your thoughts as it helps us to shape our programming so it is most valuable to you. That concludes today's webinar. Thank you and have a great day.